welcome to the third episode.
Fourth.
Oh man, hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Guitar Geekorama podcast.
Hey.
To my left, Mr. Dave Lee.
Hello. Of Eldritch Guitars.
Of Eldritch Guitars. And I'm Ian Hartley. And today we're going to talk about what, Dave? NAMM, right?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things I'd like to cover off today. Firstly, kind of summary from the studio session we had before that we filmed from last week, the amp test.
That's right. If you click this link here,
well,
can we
below.
do that here? Yeah. Then we will. That will take you to the video of a little amp test we did with a whole bunch of different amps and speakers and basically testing power amps.
Pedal board size power amps. Yep.
That's right. That's right. And well, what were your findings in that instance?
Well, we tried out the Moore Baby Bomb and we tried out the Seymour Duncan Power Stage 170. We also tried out the Blug just as a power amp. So there's the Blug Amp 1. My conclusion were you could gig any of them. They were all crazy loud, even though the Baby Bomb was only rated at 30 watts.
Right. The whole point of this test was we did it against drums. So we didn't have a full band, but a drum set. And the idea was, in a sort of average sized room, could you use any of those amps for gigging?
And
the answer was yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, moving on. No, no. What we found was probably the Seymour Duncan as a straight power amp was probably the favourite because there was you had an EQ which was really nice. There was a very transparent and it didn't have masses of headroom, but it had enough headroom for a nice clean sound running the Helix into it, right?
Yeah,
that
for
was
sure.
The conclusion, really, wasn't
Absolutely. And we tested them all with a clean sound or direct in, just so that we weren't relying on distortion to kind of boost that volume.
That's
right.
But
we were trying to keep it as clean as possible. The Moore Baby Bomb did distort past about 2/3 of the volume control.
Yeah, but I would add to that the although it's obviously a Class D amp, right? The distortion that it offered up wasn't offensive. It was it was quite a warm kind of breakup. So it wasn't it's still a really really awesome amp. Price wise, what's the difference?
Well. Let me just see
you can't remember.
Oh, look at I can't remember the Moore Baby Bomb price.
I think the Moore, you were telling me it was about sort of 90 quid or something, right? Okay,
let me get back to you on that.
Out.
I know that the Power Stage 170
was
you
look
about
it up.
300.
So the Blug that we kind of tested it against, what we were looking at there was just using the power amp on a completely separate unit, which is rated at 100 watts. The Blug, because it's got a preamp and the power amp is actually nano valve technology. It is incredibly loud. That's quite a versatile amp solution, so that's about 550, 560 quid at the moment, so it's not really a direct comparison. But the
Moore Baby Bomb?
Yeah.
£90.
Mm-hmm. Come a bit closer to your mic, I think.
£90 for the Moore Baby Bomb.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the how about the Seymour Duncan?
Just under 300.
Right. So, I mean, obviously price point is quite different, but they're quite different solutions as well, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. The Moore Baby Bomb was designed to go with the little preamps that come with, don't come with it, but are designed to go alongside it. So you get a whole bunch. I think it's like 11 different preamps you can buy for it now. I'm going to go and try some out, I think, this weekend.
Right.
So that's designed to go on a really miniature pedal board and be all you need for a fly rig.
Sure.
The Power Stage 170 is similar, but it's got an EQ on it. So it's a bit more of a kind of professional standard one, and this is designed as...
Now, generally speaking, it seems that everything's heading in this direction because I'm looking at a lot of the sort of TC Electronics. They've started bringing out
Yeah.
these very small pedals now. Like they've got the Looper. So I can't remember what that one is.
The Ditto, is it?
The Ditto, yes, yeah. So something like that, that is really half a pedal, isn't it? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. The size of it is half a pedal. It is fully functioning. It's
Yes.
really useful.
And TC are doing really interesting things with their beaming technology. Have you seen that?
No.
So with some of the pedals, like the miniature pedals, they haven't got all
like
the
a
controls
Star
on.
Trek thing you're talking about? Like
Yeah, like you can literally beam into the pedal. No.
Holy moly! About time. We're in the future.
No, the idea is that you can go on to an app or some software and you can tweak the sound of the particular pedal you've got. It's called a tone print.
Mm-hmm.
You can make that tone print exactly as you want it, and then you can send it from your app on your phone through the pickup on your guitar to the pedal.
I should know about this because
Your bass amp does that, right?
My TC Electronics bass, whatever the 250 watt head is, that has the tone print thing on it, which to my shame I've never actually used, so I should probably get on that. Like I would probably really like a compressor on there, and that's an option, right? I think you can go on their website and get it, and then
No, I don't. I'm not entirely sure about that.
Oh,
But I'm not really up on what the amp does, but it's mainly kind of advanced features of what's already on there. So it might be advanced EQ or
I'm
yeah,
fairly
maybe
sure
there is.
no,
Maybe
no,
with
no,
the bass amp there is
yeah,
actually.
with the bass amp, I'm fairly sure that you can just download a kind of like on it at the moment. Bizarrely enough, I think it comes default with some kind of chorus.
Mhm.
But I think you can get a compressor, you can get distortion, and really just one, one kind of saturation knob. That's it, But still, that's awesome because you've got loads and loads of effects that you can put on, potentially put onto your bass chain. And
Yeah,
I will
absolutely.
say as well, as a kind of one-stop bass solution, that little 250 watt head pushing a 15-inch speaker is amazing.
Yeah, for
very
sure.
giggable.
Yeah,
Very
for sure.
giggable.
I think that bass amps are definitely where that small digital amp market is really excelling. Like
Right.
the new Mark bass ones.
It seems that to a certain extent that the guitars are starting to catch up a bit now, right? Because that's bass amps
getting really tiny.
Well, yeah, bass amps have been getting smaller and smaller.
Oh, I see.
Haven't
Guitar amps, not just guitars. I see. Yeah.
they? Now it seems like that, the guitar amps as well. Nobody really wants to be lugging around big
No,
big
that's
amps
right.
anymore.
And it's interesting. Just coming out of NAMM this weekend, there's Milkman who do like boutique
Hold on a
Fender
minute,
style
hold on a
amps.
minute. Can we just pay some respect to that segue there? That was great.
Thanks.
Go on, you got us to NAMM. Go on.
Yeah, I know, right? Don't expect that kind of quality segue at all ever again. And you kind of ruined it now.
Sorry,
Let's just rewind.
Ah,
Okay.
Fourth wall. Go ahead.
So so Milkman, who do boutique quality amps, kind of very Fender style. They've brought out the amp, it's called, and this is an amp about so big, and it's designed to go on the floor next to your pedal board, and that's a full range kind of boutique amp. I don't think it's valve though. I think it is solid state.
Hold on, as a monitor or as an amp that goes out to the audience, you mean?
Yes.
Both.
No speaker, just an amp.
Oh, I
just
see.
like it's like a head unit, but
Right.
it's it can be used as a headphone amp. It can be used as a preamp. It can be used as a kind of a distortion pedal, or it can be used as a full-on amp. Yeah, and that's supposed to be very good. We're getting a lot of good reviews from people saying that sounds fantastic as well. So even the boutique manufacturers are kind of heading in that small direction now as well.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
So what else have you seen at NAMM?
Well,
because I must admit, I've been a bit naughty. I didn't do my homework. I didn't have any chance to look at any. I just saw Marcus Miller playing awesomely, and I just got drawn into that. and
just got
watch
lost in
anything
there.
else.
So he's got a new Mark bass amp, right?
Yeah.
Called the Mini Marcus, the Mini Marcus or something like that, which
Makes
sounds pretty
sense.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I've actually got some things for you to look at.
Awesome.
So first of all, if we talk about some Fender things, obviously Fender have a big stand at NAMM.
Are you going to be able to cut in like little pictures of these things or something? Yeah,
let's do that.
then.
So
Right,
if
okay.
you're listening
let's
to the
do
podcast
one now. And what are you going to show me?
Okay, so I've got them all saved here, very organised. So this is from the Fender stand.
Right.
They've got a new series of guitars, a bit like their pawn shop models they did before. These
Okay.
are called the Fender Parallel Universe series.
Ooh.
So what we've got here for people listening on audio is a Fender Stratocaster with basically the Jaguar guts in it.
Yeah.
That sounded really bad. I mean,
Mhm.
okay, so the electronics from a Jaguar. So you've got the
I
unusual
mean, I think an easier way to look at it is a Jaguar with a Strat-shaped body, isn't it?
and neck, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Is there a difference with the neck then?
Yeah, I think Jaguar was a short scale, so this will be like
Oh,
a standard
okay.
scale. It's also
Okay.
got the big 70s style headstock on it. So
All right. Well, okay.
yeah, what do you think? So reviews?
Okay, just first impressions. I'm not really a Jaguar guy. I know that they're super useful. I know that that they make they make good sounds and everything. I've never owned one, but I know people who swear by them. Shout out to Jimmy. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I do like about this is probably it's slightly more manageable because it's a smaller body, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right,
Than the Jaguar, right? That's maybe the point.
I think it just looks cool. I think the way that the
I mean,
pick
these are
guard doesn't
basically-
follow the contours,
Yeah.
but it's kind of slightly kind of offset from that.
Yeah.
I think it just looks quite fun.
You're right. It gives it that kind of pawn shop quality because you're
Mm.
like, what the hell is that? If you saw something like that and it was vintage, you'd be like, whoa, this is a one-off or something, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it, yeah.
Homemade. That's the idea, is it? So I'm looking at the others as well. There's this one, which is it's basically a telly configuration. Looks like a telly, but it's got a Strat body, right?
Yeah, so it's like a Strat
Mhm.
with the telly guts again.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then you've got the opposite as well. You've got
Sure.
a telly with a Strat set up on it.
All right, that's an interesting. What sort of price point are we looking at these? Have they?
I think
Sick.
these are going to be standard range, but
Mhm.
they're not custom shop. So I think they're going to be about they're going to be over £1,000 anyway. So
Right.
unlike the pawn shop series from before, which the Squires had a range of,
Mm-hmm.
these are going to be quite expensive. And also the Meteoria at the bottom that you just saw, which is kind of their new shape
Right.
to come out on this range.
Mm-hmm.
Looks a bit 60s sci-fi to me.
That's kind of cool. Yeah,
Kinda cool,
yeah. I can see it. Yeah.
Kind of Telecaster again set up
Uh-huh.
in terms of hardware, but in a kind of Jaguar-esque offset shape.
Mm.
Quite like it. Lots of people
See,
don't
I mean,
like it.
I will say this generally that when we were coming up, I think everybody started with a Strat knockoff of some description.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
Encore was the brand that was kind of kicking
Yeah.
around at the time, which isn't that an offshoot of Honer? I don't know. Anyhow, they were like
I'm
real
not sure.
budget
Yeah.
kind of guitars. Everybody started with something like that, yeah. And then it was kind of this scramble to get away from Strats as soon as possible. Like, if you had one friend who had like some kind of Les Paul or SG, it's like, oh, that's awesome, because everyone wanted the humbuckers.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
you
because it's
wanted that-
louder.
Yeah, it's louder. And although you probably can't describe the sound at that point, it's thicker and it's closer to the rock sort of legends that you're listening to at that time. Right?
Sure, yeah.
But I think everybody, once you've been playing for a while, keeps some kind of Strat in their arsenal because there's sounds that you can
Where do they
get,
keep it?
in their collection of guitars.
Right, okay.
What did you think I meant? You can keep your Strat where you want. I keep mine on my guitar rack. Right.
Okay, right.
The point is, there's tones and there's sounds you can get out of that Strat configuration that you can't get out of anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
And the same can be said of the the Jazz Masters and
the Telecasters,
and the
particularly.
Telecaster, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a funny one really, but still. I'm coming back round to Strats now and just like the sound you can get out of them, especially I think as I get older and move away from those high gain sounds, you start to hear, I still like a bit of distortion, but you start to hear a bit more of the characteristic of the pickup, and the attack on the strings through those single coils that you don't get. It's not as characteristic through.
Yeah.
humbuckers.
It's certainly they definitely have quite an accurate sound to a Stratocaster.
Right.
So you get a lot of dynamics from. Anyway, okay.
But these ones coming up, I mean,
Yeah.
Who are Fender aiming them at then? What do you think?
People who are bored of the normal setups, I
Right.
think. I think that
Is
it's
it
very
a limited
difficult.
run or
Don't know. I think
Right.
it's going to be a standard release. I think everybody
Okay.
will be able to get hold of them, but I don't think they're going to run for a long time. I think the trouble is it's really hard to come up with a new shaped guitar.
Well, that's the thing that kind of like really it sort of impresses well, no, that's just my first impression. Is okay, it's a mashup, isn't it? That's it.
Yeah,
Right?
that's it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's take this and this and just marry it together. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Sure,
sure.
why not?
Why
Okay.
not?
So the next one, pushing it a bit out there, custom shop.
Mm-hmm.
This can be yours for £8,000.
Awesome.
It is the pinball Telecaster. I think it's called the Wizard. So you've got like the
Right.
flashing lights from a pinball machine. You've got the bumpers on there. It comes with an amp as well. I mean,
yeah, I think
£8,000. That's a bargain, right?
It would have to. Okay. Well, I mean, that's a guitar.
Yeah. Not interested?
Not so much.
I love this. You know, all the lights flash. You know, I'm a sucker for things that light up.
Well, I mean, if you've got your spare £8,000, I mean, if you
Mm.
look down the back of the couch, if you can pull out £8,000, it can be yours. That's to me, that looks like a goddamn monstrosity, and I'm glad that someone at Fender's got a sense of humour. I would hate to think of them all sitting there just being guitar robots, you know.
Yeah, I mean, is somebody going to buy that and play it? I'm not sure. It's got one neck pickup, that's it, and like a wraparound bridge.
It's quite special. Do the pinball?
Do
what
they
are called,
work?
paddles? Or
You'd hope so,
What
right?
do they do? I mean, if it's like a B bender or something, that would be
That would be
awesome.
we'll look at the strap pin at the back. It's like the plunger.
That is, I know we're not supposed to swear, but that is effing horrendous. Who is that? The volume?
I love
that, That like massive,
Yeah. Yeah.
like cake. It
Yeah,
looks
the
like a
ribbon.
cake. What the?
I mean, personally, I love pinball machines, so I'm fully on board with this. And I might even build one.
Oh,
I might have to do one, like a pinball or arcade machine guitar or something.
wow.
Yeah, I might go for it. I'm gonna use this as inspiration.
I don't know. For £8,000, I would actually want it to be a functioning pinball machine. Also,
Yeah.
so there can be a guitar, pinball machine, and a car. Then I'd buy it.
And a car.
No.
All right. Okay. Also from Fender,
Uh-huh.
the new Jackson range was released, and this really appeals to my 80s sensibilities.
Right, which is basically all of your
The
sensibilities,
Jackson
really, isn't it?
SL4X Soloist,
Okay.
particularly in orange and pink.
Yeah.
Now this is for me this one of my favorite looking guitars ever was the Charvel. I forgot what they're called.
No, hold on a minute. Hold on.
Oh,
are they single coils in there, or is it stacked humbuckers?
No, they're stacked humbuckers.
Okay.
Yeah.
In
Oh,
all,
actually, I
in
think
all
they're-
three positions, because it's kind of like a Strat configuration.
Yeah,
with
it is, yeah.
with the Floyd Rose and your standard kind of Jackson fare from back in the day. Yeah, it's 3 stacked humbuckers. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
And there was a
Okay.
very similar Charvel to this back in the day, which had an upturned headstock, which is why I really dig it,
Mhm.
which this doesn't. But it had a similar kind of scratch plate configuration of the neon colours. I really like this. I'd play it. But then I'm in a metal band.
One of my students, he's quite young,
Uh-huh.
and he's very young actually. I think he's 10 now. He just got one of the is it LTD or do you say limited? I don't know what you're saying.
I'd say LTD, but yeah, limited, yeah.
Kirk Hammett did the one up to
The Explorer.
stocks. No, not the Explorer. There's just kind of the super Strat that he played
Okay,
all through,
right.
like the Enter Man and all
Mhm.
that stuff, right? So it's got the skulls instead of
Mhm.
skull and crossbones
Classy.
instead of dots,
Yeah.
and it's got the Floyd Rose license of Floyd Rose on it. But one thing that I don't know if it's been rewired or if they came like this, but it's really weird. So it's 2 humbuckers in it, EMGs. The forward volume knob is for the neck humbucker. The middle volume knob is for the bridge humbucker.
Okay.
And then there's a master tone
Yeah.
and just a
Like
3-way
a Les
switch.
Paul, I guess.
Yeah,
Except with one master tone
Les,
instead of...
Les Paul isn't it? Is it not the other way round?
No, it's volume tone. But this, if you imagine having 3 knobs and doing... I think I was not up here. My SG's wide like this as well.
Okay.
2 volume controls and a master tone. I mean,
It's-
you've got a
it's
space,
just-
so yeah.
I'd just never seen it before. Like, I was kind of getting it in tune and showing him how
Uh-huh.
to how to use a Floyd Rose, which he's really getting into. I mean, all day, good. I'm like,
showing him how to tune up and set up a Floyd Rose and take all day.
It's a nightmare, yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's brilliant. I'm glad he's into it.
Yeah, for sure.
But that configuration, I hadn't seen it quite like that before. Yeah.
Do you know what's quite interesting?
What have they got there? Because they've just got 2 knobs on that, right?
Yeah, it's pretty standard. But a lot of the Jacksons coming out in NAMM this year actually have a really interesting tone control where it doesn't activate until you pull the push-pull knob out. So it's completely bypassed. So I think some of the signature, I think it's the guy from Slipknot said, I don't want a tone control. And they're like, well, we've got to make it, kind of appeal to the mass market. Sure. A lot of people do want one. He said, well, if you're going to put one in there, make sure it's completely bypassed until I want it.
Right.
So the tone control doesn't do anything at all until you pull it out, and then it works.
Huh.
Which is interesting.
Well, I can understand. I mean, if you're in Slipknot or something, all that tone knob will be is just an extra thing to check before you start playing
and muddy the sound. Because if you're running at super high gain, you're not going to want to roll
I can
the
see
tone
that
off,
if you can take it out of the signal path as well. But I mean, let's face it, most of us that's a lot of what happens with the tone knob anyway. Is you just go, is the tone knob up? Not every 2 minutes, but it's like before you're about to play, good, tone knob's up, right, get ready on the volume, that's it. And all it is like something you have to check before you start playing.
Yeah, it's quite interesting though, because you could almost set it as a preset.
Yes, you could, yeah.
Which might work quite well.
That was the thing that struck me about the LTD actually. The Hammett model is that's pretty cool, because that's how my student has figured out how to use it as well, because he's just like, if I have the volume, the old Les Paul trick, you turn the volume, the neck volume down, so you've got a nice crunchy rhythm sort of sound, and then you've got the bridge up full whack. You just get that boost.
Good way of using it, yeah. Okay, cool. So, talking about double humbuckers, Ibanez have reissued the 550 in its nice neon colours. We're not going to spend much time talking about this because everybody knows about the Ibanez RG 550s. It's just like the 80s, 90s legendary guitar.
Yeah, it's that neck profile and all of the the styling on there.
Yeah, I'd like one, and
it's
I think they're reasonably priced.
Them bring back that conservative yellow.
Yeah, that's right.
Neon.
I think it's a shame they don't have the disappearing pyramids inlay like on the gems.
Right.
Because I've always wanted that, but I don't like the monkey grip on the gems.
I mean, taste aside, you can't fault Ibanez. I've never played an Ibanez that sucked. Even the total entry level versions of this.
Like 250s and stuff. Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
I agree.
Guitars.
Yeah. I've got a 90s RG that I'm currently working on at the moment.
Oh yeah, it's looking great.
Thanks. Right. However, they did release new body shapes, new headstock shapes, and it's kind of a new range altogether. In fact, do you remember going to a guitar clinic and seeing Tom Quayle?
Yes.
Yeah.
With that horrendously ugly guitar.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom. I know to each their own.
That was
my
the
God,
Fibinaire Erotic, I think it was called.
I'm sure it plays like a dream, but
it looked like a bag of dicks.
Makes you want to be sick.
Well, he's now got a new signature guitar. Basically, Ibanez have made him a Shure or a Sur.
Oh, hello, Ibanez. Come on, that's ridiculous. They've totally knocked that off.
I know it does look like a Sur.
Nothing wrong with that because they're great guitars.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is strange because I think he used to play a Sur before he had a Fibinare.
Okay.
But I think generally this is the new series of guitars that they're releasing called the AZ. So I think it means you can do everything with it from A to Z, I've heard, is what that stands for. These are a bit more kind of subtly shaped bodies. They're not quite as pointy as the RGs. Okay. The headstock isn't as pointy. It's kind of rounded off a little bit, even though it is kind of their shape. I think it goes back to their kind of 70s headstock shape.
Right.
And, you get they've got a whole range of guitars in this series that have different pickup configurations. Some really nice tops
that's a
necks.
really nice guitar, but I'm guessing it's got a sort of grand price tag, right, or more.
Oh, here's one, yeah,
right,
definitely.
Yeah, see.
And the new AZ range or AZ range are all about £1,200-1,300.
Right.
But guitars are just like that now. You know, if you want a
Mm.
reasonable quality guitar that's going to be useful when you're gigging and you're going to go out on tour, you know, you're looking at that level. You're looking at Gibsons and high-end Strats. Anything USA built is going to be around the £1,300 starting point, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. I would argue the toss there. I've got perfectly decent
Oh, yeah.
£400 guitars that
Oh,
I
yeah,
would say
absolutely.
are eminently useful.
Yeah, absolutely, me too.
But you
Most
know,
of mine
I
are
think
cheaper
you're
than
paying a bit of a premium for that because obviously you know it is going to be a well finished high end guitar. So you know, to each their own. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the quality of the pickups, the quality of your hardware.
Yeah.
You know, with me, my guitars are cheap a lot of the time,
Mhm.
but I change everything on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's just look at the other AZ models.
It's
Different
interesting
finishes.
that Ibanez have gone this way, and it's kind of it makes me a bit sad as well. You know how I know we always use the analogy with cars, but you know how like all cars look the same now. It's like
Yeah.
guitars are starting to get like that as well. Where's all the sort of you know, the mad shapes?
Yeah.
You know, but then again, I suppose you know those fenders you just showed, the mashup ones. They're
Well, they're not new shapes,
they're
though, are
not, but you know.
they? Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Mm.
There are some weird ones coming out of Jackson. There's a new kind of, it's called the Grim Reaper one. That's
Mhm.
crazy pointy.
Okay,
nobody
so
buys
this
that
is a full range then. What you're
Mhm.
saying is across Ibanez range, they're bringing out a whole new set of shall we say more traditionally shaped
Yeah,
guitars. I mean
bit more
they're
subtle.
basically Strat shape, aren't they? Right?
Yeah, not quite as curvy. A little bit more angular. But
Mm-hmm.
okay, right. Next, amps.
Mm.
We've already talked about this, but it's the new Vox MVX 150
Right. Okay.
head.
Mm-hmm. This one I did look because you told me to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So it's a 150 watt valve amp.
right.
Now, it uses the Korg new tube that we talked about one of the other weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd be interested to hear it. You know, I'd be interested to do a blind test on it with another valve amp that's supposed to sound similar. So the idea is that it's smaller and lighter. And it doesn't look that much smaller though. But
I mean, you like to think that if Vox have put their name on it, it's gonna be pretty good.
Mhm.
They had a bit of a hiccup, I think, with those what were they called, Valvetronic.
yeah, like the valve
boxes.
state type things.
I mean, they weren't, in terms of an entry level amp, they weren't the worst thing you could buy, but they were also not very rich in tone. I think if you ever played through one of them, you know, they were just sort of preset amps. They're digital amps, weren't they? Right?
Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan. Sorry,
Right.
John Melia.
But the whole point with this is they're getting back to the sort of valve tech, but it's the new technology,
Yeah,
right?
new tech.
Because
Yeah,
it's-
which is interesting.
Mm.
So I think this is kind of interesting. They're going that way with it. They've made it because they have the MV50s before, the little 50 watt ones that we tried out, the little pedal board sized amps.
Well, yeah, those, they were insane. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And they, you know, I think running 4 ohms, they were probably loud enough to gig. But now this one will definitely be loud enough to gig. It's just, you know, whether it sounds like a proper valve amp. You know, I want to get in and try one of those at some point.
Yeah, I mean the little new tube ones that we tried, we only tried them in a very tiny practice room. You
Yeah.
got the impression that they'd be loud enough to gig, but you'd have to try them in a bigger room. I think they would be, but it just depends what you want.
Yeah.
If you're looking, you know, for enough headroom and clean sound and all that, I would be surprised if they've got it. But if you're looking for that, you know,
Kind of
sort
gritty,
crunchy,
Yeah.
sound, then I'm sure they can do it.
Okay. So, Headrush, who make a pedal board very similar to the Helix,
Mm-hmm.
have released their new FR speaker.
Okay.
We know what that stands for, right?
You did something on full range, full frequency, full English breakfast.
Yeah, full range, flat response.
Right.
I'm on it now. I've got it this time.
Right.
So it's a 1x12 PA looking speaker,
Right.
powered
Finding it hard to be excited about that. But I'm sure it
2,000
means something
watts.
to someone.
2,000 watts.
Uh-huh.
Is that loud enough?
Should be.
Could you gig it?
Oh.
You'd hope so, right?
So it's a power amp inside a speaker. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's a powered speaker,
Powered
full
speaker.
range, and it's supposed to be
Oh
working.
yeah, let's call it a powered speaker. That's a good idea.
Exactly. Well,
No, you're exactly
That's
right.
it, yeah.
I just said it's a power amp inside a speaker. Yeah,
That's what it is.
powered speaker. There, I think they exist.
Yeah, stereo
Right.
ins, designed to work with their pedal board.
It's a bit early in the morning for me.
Sorry,
Right.
yeah, it's not particularly interesting, but I want to try.
So
it. It's
hold
one
on.
of these things that
So
I'm excited
the
about.
whole point of that, and I see it's got that kind of tilt back, so
Uh-huh.
that you can then put it where you want it. You can put it on the floor, pointing up at you. You can put it up on. Has it got? Like, it's got a post there as well.
Yeah, it's got
hasn't
post
it?
holes. You can put it on a post. Yeah, so you can put it up at
Okay.
your level. You can stand it on its end. You can monitor with it. So yeah,
What sort of price point for that though? That must be expensive.
I don't even know if it's got a release price yet, because this is just NAMM stuff. At the
Right.
moment.
Okay.
Speaking of new tubes, which we were,
Yes.
Ibanez have released their new Tube Screamer pedal,
Okay.
and it's got a new tube in it.
Okay.
Now, I've seen demos of this,
Mm.
and I can't tell the difference in the sound between this and the old Tube Screamer,
Right.
the TS9. Is
Mm.
it me, or does it seem a bit weird that you've got a Tube Screamer that has a tube in it? Surely the idea of a Tube Screamer is to like push the valves on an amp already. So what's this doing? Is it pushing the valve in it?
The original Tube Screamer, the whole point of it is like by itself, it's pants.
Yeah.
But you stick it in front of a tube amp, and it's oh my god. what
Yeah,
a
it really
combination.
compresses
That
on the
was
tubes and tightens
whole
up the
point
sound.
of it,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know why it would need another tube in it unless they're trying to put it into a different category. I don't really understand, to be honest.
Yeah.
You'd have to hear it. I'm not.
I mean,
I'm not
this
saying
is
it's
quite a
valid.
lot of money
But
as well.
why, if they're going to put a nano tube in it, why not call it something else? At least call it the Tube Screamer. I don't know. Tube squared screamer. No, that's a mouthful. Okay.
Yeah. So this is quite a lot of money, I think. So I
Right.
believe it's £240.
Right.
You could get a Tube Screamer Mini for £55.
I think so.
£60.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know.
What are you gonna do?
I'm yet to be convinced on whether
Yeah.
that's a worthwhile purchase.
Okay.
Speaking of Korg new tubes,
Mm-hmm.
another little segue into Boss.
Mm-hmm.
They've released their own version of the Helix as well.
Right.
It's basically an advancement on their GT100. It's the GT1000.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much the same, really, sort of thing as a Helix.
This is kind of what
Modelling
I'm talking
and-
about, dude. They all look the same now. They all look.
Yeah, they really do.
They all look the same. What's the one Dweezil Zappa uses?
The Axe-Fx
Axe Effects and your Helix and this one
and the Head
the
Rush
other one,
Yeah.
Head Rush. Yeah.
Well, that's because they've got the interface right. It makes sense.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it works. It's useful. And I think Boss did really well with the modelling they used on their amps recently, on their Katana series amps.
Right.
So this uses a similar technology as similar models.
Okay.
I heard a demo of it. I think it was on the Thoman page. I thought it just sounded rubbish. I'm sorry to say.
Really?
I mean, it was one demo. It was at NAMM, and the guy was using an out-of-tune guitar, which was confusing for me. But
doesn't help. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I've heard this about NAMM actually. Although, like, you see all these videos, and you can always hear stuff in the background. Yeah. But when you're actually there, it's actually quite hard to monitor yourself. Each booth is only allowed to go above a certain volume unless it's a big artist on stage. And it wouldn't surprise me if a perfectly decent guitar player ends up playing out of tune and not realising. Do you know what I mean? So but then that becomes quite annoying.
Yeah, I agree. But this was in a separate room. This was in a
Then
like a
there's
media
no
booth.
excuse.
There's no excuse.
He should be hanged. No, that's too much. He should be given a tuner as a birthday present.
Well, you'd hope that the pedal board came with one. That was my thought. Okay, so my last item, my talking point. Let me read the title of this for you. It's a new acoustic guitar.
All right.
The Harmonic Hendrix home guitar. What do you think that means?
I think it's alliterative.
It certainly is. But
Right.
what do you think? If you were asked to go and look at this guitar, what would you be expecting from it?
I don't know. I don't know. My only image of Hendrix with an acoustic guitar is him sitting on that stool playing that 12 string
on the cover of that album. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's video of it as
Yeah.
well on YouTube, and he's doing "Hear My Train A Coming," which is one of my favourite
Yeah,
tunes
it's great.
that he ever did. So yeah, that's what comes to mind when you say Hendrix and acoustic.
Yeah.
What are you going to show me?
I'm not even. You don't even need to see it really.
Oh,
However, basically, these guitars are built out of the salvaged wood from Jimi Hendrix's original home.
okay. So
I mean, it looks nice, but
right. So hold on a minute. Is this the Hendrix estate like clawing at an extra few $1 million or something? That just sounds
it's made
kind of
out.
twisted.
It says here, authentic Hendrix acoustic features floorboards, nails, and paint chips.
Give me a look.
Woods from the bedroom and living room of the Hendrix family Seattle home have been used.
Oh, so not right. So you're talking about his childhood.
His childhood home, yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a great idea. That's very classy. I'm sure that the great man himself would be really pleased with that. You know what? I say why not? You know, if someone wants to pay money for that, it's not like it's made out of the charred bones of Jimi Hendrix. It's made out of the sad remains of his childhood home, right?
Yeah, right.
It's a bit much, yeah. That's odd, and I bet it's very overpriced and a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a nice guitar. I mean, it looks well finished, but I just think that their USP of being made out of an old house just doesn't really work for me. It just seems like such a blatant cash-in that it makes me upset.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that idea. Okay, so that's your roundup of NAMM.
That's so far day one
okay.
of NAMM. Yeah, so we've still got a couple more days. I'm sure new things will be unveiled.
Okay.
There's a lot more out there, but they were the interesting things that caught my eye.
Okay.
Any of those you're going to rush out and buy?
Nope. No. And cut. No. No. None of them really jump out for me. I don't like the sort of Jackson 80s guitars or anything like that. I don't.
You don't want to.
I don't need those acoustic guitars made out of Jimi Hendrix's house. I suppose what I'm most interested in is the Vox, to see how those new Vox combos and heads come out.
Yeah,
just,
same.
Just to hear what they sound like. Okay, well then let's jump onto this. And what would you like to see at NAMM? What are you hoping will come out over the next couple of days?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's very difficult because you don't know what you want until it arrives. I mean, obviously, in previous conversations, I'd like an amp this big. That's 1,000 watts, all tube.
Right.
No, I don't. I mean, I'd love it if we had an all valve amp that sized that was definitely loud enough to gig, and that you could change the wattage settings on it. Like you can on some, like my Ignator, you can wind it down to 1 watt, or you can wind it up to 30 watts, so you can go anywhere in between. You can crunch it. I mean, that would be ideal. I don't think we're going to see it. Certainly with the Vox technology, that's kind of where I hope it's going.
Right.
I like portable, but
but I mean,
not everybody does.
Aren't you kind of moving in two directions there? Because, you're sort of. It seems like what you're heading for now is to get this kind of one-stop not multi-effects, but a floor solution, right? And then you're just looking for a really clean amp with loads of headroom, right?
Yes.
So you think about this as a separate thing. You'd want an amp, they're just a traditional valve amp that you can.
So let's go back to I think episode 1 or 2 where I talked about like setting a challenge for myself about building the pedal board that sounds as good as the Helix. Do you remember that? Now part of that would be that the amp models in the Helix are really good, so you can get a range of sounds out of that. Now, if I had somebody to lug my gear around, I probably would use amp sounds from an actual amp. So if you can design a pedal board that has amp sounds on it, for instance, I've been looking at some nice preamps, but like all valve preamps by a company called Kingsley, and they sound amazing. And I've spoken to the guy, and I've kind of got one on back order for that now anyway, as part of the experiment kind of going forward, but it's quite a long wait time. So we probably won't be able to use it for this particular experiment. But if you've got an amp already there, then you don't need a separate preamp. You've got the sounds already available. It'd have to be switchable. For me, I'd like 3 channels.
Because this is kind of I suppose what I'm getting at. If once you have this sort of floor solution, I don't see the point in plugging that into a valve amp, for example.
No,
because
no.
you'll be front loading all the effects, and
Yeah.
not everybody wants to do that. Obviously, you want to run that through a loop or something.
Well, yeah, but
yeah,
that's available as well. You can get controllers where you can do any combinations. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you've got a valve amp, I wouldn't use the preamp. If I'm getting that preamp, I'm going to run it through the power stage, because then you've got that valve.
But then, would you be happy with? Because that's the way I approach playing all the time, is getting one sound, getting that nice valve sound, just going, that's it, and then it's just variants on
I need 3 sounds.
For
me, to do things I need a super sparkly clean, which I can put, some modulation effects on. I need a nice overdriven kind of bluesy tone, which I can kind of use as a crunch as well. And then a full-on lead or metal tone as well. So, 3 to 4 tones. So, 3 channels amp, or have the amp do the bluesy tone and the clean tone, and then use a tube screamer to boost both of those channels to get the in-between sounds. So yeah, I don't know, but that's what I'd like to see coming out. Also, new guitars, new shapes are always exciting. Always make me want to spend loads of money. But yeah, I don't know if the 550 I'm interested in, just because I love it. The Jackson Soloist, I like that 80s look. I like the idea of having it, but I don't think I'll go out and buy one.
If I have to think about 80s guitars, then, I was like the kind of Steinberger concept there. Just strip the whole thing back. I'm not such a fan of the cricket back ones because they're kind of difficult to use, sit on your lap. But the whole aesthetic there, I'm a huge fan of. Not just in terms of, I know the way it looks, it immediately turns some people off, but I actually like the way they look. But just more than anything, the way they play, the way the action is on them, and the way just the practicality of it, the fact that you can't knock it out of tune, it's very easy to play in a smaller space and all that kind of stuff. I've always liked the headless guitars for that. I suppose, right, what I would like to see, if it could be anything, is this is kind of sacrilegious, but I would like to see something like Fender incorporating that kind of tech, or a company, a third party, doing something like a very traditionally equipped telly, but with the headstock, with the headless kind of design, something like that. That's what I've always been looking for. And I kind of built one a bit like that out of a kit, which gets 90% of the way there. But I'm not a guitar builder, so the finish is not.
No, the hardware let it down a bit as well, didn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so recently released, not a NAMM, but recently from Mayons. They've released a new headless guitar.
Is that how you say it? I've always like mayonnaise. No, mayonnaise.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Whatever. Yeah.
So new headless, the Hydra.
Yeah.
I played one of these recently at Guitar when I went down to visit them. Literally the best headless I've played.
I mean, that looks exactly like the not carving. They used to be. Carving.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the Kiesel.
Kiesel, yeah. Looks exactly like the Kiesel.
Very similar. Very similar to the Vader. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. What did you want to say about that one? And then I want to talk about Kiesel.
Well, it's kind of got that Steinberger-esque shape as well. Quite a lot of money. £2,400 basically for that guy. But that was the point at which I suddenly thought about dropping money on it.
Right, at that price point, you can go on the Kiesel website and start putting all your. You can get one of their 8 strings for that, and you can put all your design elements in there. Now, I don't know about the build quality, but from what I've heard, it's very, very good.
Yeah, I've heard mostly good things. I've heard probably 80% good things about Kiesel. Right. Yeah,
and you can say, right, and I want this finish and that finish at that kind of price point, So that's kind of mad,
Yeah.
Anyway,
the difference with this is you can go and play it beforehand.
Right. But so if you remember, what I was saying is. A more traditional kind of angle, right? Well, Kiesel have brought out a new model, and it's curvier.
Oh yeah,
it's one. I can't remember
the T shape, the telly shape one.
Yeah, sort of.
Yes, very much like my Zen.
It is a little bit like the Xenia,
Yeah.
but it's even more. I think it's even more conservative than that. It's more
Yeah,
traditional.
it
It's
is,
not
yeah.
as angular.
Yeah.
And that I really like the look of, actually, because that's kind of what I was saying is, you know, if I for me it's always single cutaway. Just aesthetically, I like it better.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? And Steinberger never really did a single cutaway design, you know, because everything was about sort of keeping it very, I don't know, ultra playable, wasn't it? You
Mhm.
know, yeah.
Yeah.
So now Kiesel he's brought out this new design, and I'd really like to get my hands on one of them. I think they look, you know, it shouldn't really be that. It shouldn't be like, oh, they look cool, so now I want it. I also liked all the Vader ones
Yeah.
that they were,
But they
bringing
did
out as
look
well.
quite metal.
They do, yeah. They look.
Instead
that.
of his Hydras as well, they do look quite
yeah,
metal.
Yeah. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think these new.
But didn't Alan Holdsworth have a single cutaway?
He did.
Small-bodied
He had a carving,
yeah.
kind of a mini telly single cutaway. Yeah, he did.
But you prefer the kind of the full body shape of the
Well, I
Telecaster
mean,
shape?
the thing with that, it was actually, it wasn't that much more expensive. I think it's probably on a par with what they're bringing out now. But I don't know, just aesthetically, not the new one looks really nice. It looks a bit more pleasing. Yeah,
Sure. Cool.
So I wonder if they've got a booth.
Yeah, they have.
They must have, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe, you know, that's going to pop up at some point in the
Oh,
next
I'm
couple
sure.
of
Yeah,
days.
I think they've just released a new Jason Becker model as well. Yeah. I don't know.
Wow.
Probably a bit long to look at it while everybody waits for me to search their webpage. So yeah.
Yeah.
So looking forward to exciting things coming out the next kind of day, 2 days of NAMM. You might notice that I'm wearing another YouTube channel's t-shirt, which is probably a bit controversial.
I did notice the t-shirt. Yeah, I didn't know they started doing their own merchandise now. That's cool.
Oh, they've done it for a while now.
Okay.
I've been doing a lot of research around this pedal board idea that we talked about earlier, and how I'm going to build this pedal board that rivals the Helix. And the idea is that I want to try and make it sound as good or better than the Helix, with all the sounds that I need out of it in the same kind of footprint as the Helix as well. That's the challenge for me.
Okay.
So I've been watching a lot of demos and finding out a lot of things, and most of that was on these guys' channel. So this is just a little thank you for all the information. It's been invaluable. Those guys really know what they're talking about. And
yeah, they're a proper pair of geeks.
Yeah.
I mean that with all due respect.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I love it. So I bought a t-shirt to support them because, you know, a lot of my research was done there. Not only do they have a lot of pedals that other people don't tend to demo, but they talk a lot about setup and how to run them as well. So I think a lot of the things I'll be working on will come from kind of the research that was done there and kind of other things. So yeah, thanks to you guys. And yeah, so I'm still potentially looking at that challenge, still waiting for kind of lots of feedback from people to see whether you want me to do that. So that's one part of the challenge I could do. The other part is taking a cheap guitar and modding it. The 60 Cycle Hum guys really modded to death a Les Paul SL from Epiphone, so I don't really want to tread on their toes too much. I have seen a very nice looking sparkly Squire, which I might pick up as well. So maybe I'll do it on a Squire and just really kind of rip that apart. But you know, I'm open to ideas as well. If there's a cheap guitar you think might be worthy of really going crazy on, and then if I do that, then I'm open to suggestions about what you want to see on it. You know, or I could take the SL and go a completely different route with it, because the Ryan went quite kind of classy with it, with a big speed tremolo, and he tried out some lipstick pickups on it and things, and it looks dead cool. I might go completely the other way, make it a death metal machine or something.
Okay.
You know, so you know, any feedback gratefully received on that. And yeah, that's things that I'm working on, and I will be updating next week about progress on that. Anything new from you?
Yeah, sure. So I did a little bit of recording last week, Monday of last week, and I took my telly. What is it called?
Your modern player.
Modern player. I was
Yep.
going to say custom player. It's not. It's modern player. Yeah, I still like that guitar, but I'm starting to have certain reservations. One is the machine heads that they put on it as standard. They're sort of the
vintage ones with
they are vintage.
the slotted posts. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people really rate those as the best.
Do they?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they're having a detrimental effect, but yeah, I was having some tuning issues with it. I don't know. It could have been the nut.
Yeah, I've noticed that on yours. Is it still being kept in the studio?
No, it's kept in a nice. There's no real sort of weather issues. And anyway, even if that were the case, there are other guitars in there that I can pull straight off the shelf and they're fine. So it's not a problem with the atmosphere. It's a problem with the guitar, as far as I'm concerned. At a similar price point, if other guitars are perfectly happy, I don't know why that one would get to be.
Because you had a problem where the neck went a bit wayward as well, didn't you? In the past,
it's had this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, there's lots of little niggling items on it. Like one of the things I noticed. So this is maybe not such a big one, but I mean, say like the input jack. It's one of those kind of flat plate ones that kind of sticks out. It's like I just wish they'd gone that little bit further and done the sort of the
inset one.
Yeah, the inset, the traditional telly one. So I was just looking at another cheaper, a Squire telly that had that. I was like, that's so nice. Why didn't they put that in? Maybe there's a reason for it. I don't know, but it seems kind of like cost cutting to me. I'm not sure. And also, they're just with I wanted to ask you about this electronics. I was trying to do a lot of sort of volume swell stuff.
Sure.
And the roll off on that potentiometer, it was practically useless. It's like it's nothing, and then the last like 10% of the roll, that's where you get the
okay.
So it was really kind of I didn't have a volume pedal with me, so I sort of had to compromise a little bit with that. And I don't know if that's
that could be the difference between like an alpha pot and a logarithmic pot. So that can be changed out. That's not. It's a bit annoying, but
well, it seems
okay.
Like but then when you think about a Telecaster and how it's going to be used, right?
Yeah,
volume swells are a huge part. I can't remember. I can never say his name right, but somebody like Jim Campiano, I think his name is. All of those kind of like country jazz players. That's a huge part of the telly sound, and I was just trying to do this, and I hadn't noticed it live so much, to be fair, but then with this recording, I was like, oh man, I was really struggling, and there was just there was all or nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's like practically like an on-off switch, and I'm like, what's going on with that? Yeah. So, I don't want to be, I'm still happy with that guitar. It's still been very reliable, but yeah, just a little bit sort of some niggling details with it.
Okay, we'll bring it in. Yeah. I'll look at the nut for you. I'll look at the machine heads, and we can swap out the parts.
Well, this is what we're saying. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not a cheap guitar, because I already had. That? I think it was
450,
400, something like that. Yeah. I think it was around 380 to be fair. Yeah. So it is fairly cheap. But before I had a second-hand Squire telly that was 60 quid. Put a Seymour Duncan in it. Put a stacked Seymour Duncan in the neck, stripped it back and everything, and that was decent. That worked. It was a good guitar. Yeah, right.
And that's annoying. You'd think from a Fender you wouldn't expect the problems, but from a Squire you'd be
feel wise, finish wise. Yes, it's a better guitar. You can tell it's a better quality. But then there's all these little niggling details. I'm like, am I really gonna have to switch out the tuners? Am I gonna have to switch out the input jack, because I don't, I know that's a bit of an aesthetic thing, but but still, like say, or you're saying, okay, we could change the potentiometer or something. It's like, well, hang on a minute, shouldn't Fender have thought about this? And maybe there's a good answer for it, because it's got the humbucker in the bridge. Maybe that's a reason why the electronics have to be that way or something. But yeah, it's quite, and just generally the technical problems I've had with it, like the keeping the neck straight and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's strange that it.
I never had these problems before, so what with the Squire telly.
Yeah.
So
you might just be unlucky.
It could be.
I mean,
could be
like
a quality
the input
control
and the
issue.
pot thing.
I don't know. Yeah.
Difficult to say.
So as a as a comparison, I have the PRS, which is the budget one. The PRS, which was
SE.
Thank you. Yeah, which was $399, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. And that is 100% decent guitar. Stays in tune, rock solid. Tuners are good. Everything about it is, okay, it's a budget guitar. But somebody asked me the other day, said, "Oh, what pickups have you put in there?" I'm like, dude, that's the standard
Stock, yeah.
pickups it came with. Whatever's in there is in there, you know, and they're good enough. It's rocking enough. Yeah. I know it might be kind of like, you know, chalk and cheese comparing that guitar and that guitar, but it's like price point wise, it's very similar, and I'm just sort of starting to get a little bit finicky about it, shall we say?
I understand.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. I think this sounds like you're edging towards buying a Kiesel because your telly's not good enough.
Oh no, man, no, I'm not buying any guitars. No. Yeah. Unless Mr. Kiesel, unless Jeff, you're out there and you want to work something out, you know. No, I mean, yeah, of course, I'd love one. I'd love something like that, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I can get it on layaway.
I think you can. I think you can.
I don't say that. It's just good. It's just throwing it out.
Have a look on the
I'm gonna have
website.
to buy it.
Yeah,
Right.
I think you can.
No, I do actually see that. That's part of that's why it would be good to be at NAMM. Is then you could try some of these guitars out.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
obviously the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
How much does it cost to go in there then? Do you have to
don't
pay
know.
for tickets to walk around?
I don't know, but I've got as far as looking at the flight out there and not been able to afford that.
Right,
So
right. That's true.
next year, with all the money we're not making off of YouTube for shit.
That's a whole other issue, isn't it? Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah. Anyway, right. I don't want to end on a bummer about Telecasters. Let's see. What good things have happened then?
I
You
finished
built
this
a
guy.
guitar, right? Yeah, this one.
This guy. Yep. Just messed around with it. It glows in the dark. I mean, I always
That's
love things that
awesome.
glow and light
What's
up.
the origins on that guitar?
So it's a
what was
BC
it?
Rich Gunslinger. So I did a hand-painted kind of cowgirl kind of image on it. The idea is that in the daytime it's a sunset scene, and on stage under UV light or in the dark it's like a kind of a moonlit scene. So
That's awesome. And it's you got the Damasio stacked humbucker in the neck.
yeah,
What's in the bridge?
it's actually a custom wound pickup I got from Jaden Rose, the boutique guitar builder out of Wales. So
Okay.
sounds really nice.
Uh-huh.
The neck profile on that I love as well. It's only a cheap gunslinger. It's nothing
Oh.
from the 80s or anything, but
Uh-huh.
I really like that neck profile. And you know me in the 80s. For me, if it's gone up to
that,
headstock
that's
and
an
a maple neck.
actual Floyd Rose on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hasn't quite been finished setting up because that bridge is sitting a little bit low. But
It's also not in tune.
yeah, it's not in tune, no.
Well, but anyway, the neck profile is lovely.
Yeah. And that action as well is where it'll be. So, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's very flat, very
Yeah. So for a
Very
cheapie,
low
which I've done
action.
up, I'm
Yeah.
quite pleased with that. I'll probably kick that for a while.
Okay, so when this is set up, we should do a little review on that, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. This is where you drop it. Well done. Okay, good. Yeah. So
Cool. So you got that nearly done. What's next in the pipeline then?
so I've got the RG 550 that I was talking about earlier to do.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to put a Sustaini note, a Fernandez Sustainer in the neck on that.
Cool.
I'm going to do some kind of funky finish on it as well. I might make that my my neon guitar or my arcade guitar, maybe. It would suit the era. I've got a short scale Strat as well, which I'm finishing. I'm looking at some kind of funky finish on that.
I've never had a short scale guitar that I can get on with.
No, but I've
never
got little
had
tiny
one.
hands. They suit me quite well.
No, it's just the tuning. It's not that. I've just never had a short scale guitar that can stay in tune properly.
It's not
ever.
that short. I mean, Les Pauls are about the same scale
Really?
length as this. Yeah. It's not like a 3/4 size or anything like that. No,
right.
it's more like
Well,
a Jaguar.
I suppose the one I used to have a Duosonic.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of the Mexican Duosonics.
Nice.
Nah, just
No.
never stayed in tune. Never.
Oh.
It was fairly cheap. It was a Fender.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It was one of the budget ones, and I just struggled to get it in tune. Just could never
Uh-huh.
get it right. You know, I assume that the strings they put on it were a good tension for that scale. Otherwise, they'd be pretty stupid. But I could never get it to.
Just you and keeping Fenders in tune, maybe.
I don't think so. No,
No.
no. It was just pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
right
that was a
from
shame
the
because
beginning.
my Squire Mustang that I did, the
I have
overhaul
a
on that's
feeling
fine.
that the
but
Girosonic is a particularly small scale guitar, though. It's I don't know exactly, but
I think they're the same as the Mustang. I think that there's just two scale
maybe.
lengths they do. And there's like the Jaguar, the Mustang
Yeah.
with Duosonic, and I might be wrong.
Yeah.
Correct me. if
This
I'm wrong,
one
but
was noticeable. Like
Mm.
when you're fretting chords and stuff, it was noticeably smaller. It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It was. I think it was almost like a 3/4 scale, maybe.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe maybe when I'm saying short scale, I mean shorter scale, not
Yeah,
necessarily. Because I suppose if we say short scale, we're talking about 25 point what inches, isn't it? Or,
Regular scale is 25.5.
okay. So short scale is like just a little bit under
24.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes a difference when you play it.
Uh-huh.
It certainly makes a difference for me with small hands. That's why I'm interested in that and a Jaguar as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I should be getting a Jaguar, a Squire Jaguar to do up at some point as well. When Richie ever gets around to getting it out of his collection to give to me.
Cool.
But yeah, apart from that, I think we can call this an end.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thanks
Awesome.
everybody for listening. Please go on, if you're listening to this on audio, please go on to YouTube and check us out there. Certainly the video we did last week, it makes a lot more sense in YouTube. Also today's one, if we put up some images, you might want to have a look at those. If you're listening to it on YouTube, why not check us out on iTunes or Podbean and those things as well. Leave us some likes and some subscribes. That will be nice. And just say hey. We could be contacted at guitargeekorama@gmail.com as well. Leave us some messages there. Let us know what you'd like us to get involved with. I'd like to do some more kind of like learning style videos for us as well.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's do. I was going to say we need to do some playing as well. Yeah, instead of just talking.
You can play. I'm not that.
Well,
into it.
something just
Yeah.
Get the guitars out and
Yeah,
do a
we'll
little
make
bit
some
more
noise
playing.
definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, good.
Awesome. All right, see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.